In the autumn of 1888, a shadow fell over the impoverished streets of London's East End. A killer, known only by his chilling moniker, Jack the Ripper, began a reign of terror that would grip the city and baffle investigators for over a century. While the Ripper's identity remains a mystery, the stories of his victims are a stark reminder of the brutal reality of life and death in Victorian London. This is the story of his second victim, a woman whose life was cut short in a crime that shocked the world. Annie Chapman. Annie Chapman, born Eliza Ann Smith, was more than just a name on a list of victims. She was a woman who had known both comfort and hardship. Married to a coachman, she had a family and a respectable life. But tragedy and alcoholism led to the breakdown of her marriage and a descent into poverty. By 1888, Annie was living in the common lodging houses of Whitechapel, earning a meager living from crochet work, selling flowers, and occasional sex work. She was known as Dark Annie for her dark hair, a familiar face in the grim lodging houses of Spitalfields. On the night of September 7th, Annie Chapman was turned out of her lodging house because she didn't have the money for her bed. "Never mind, I shall soon be back," she told the deputy. Those were some of her last known words. In the cold early hours of September 8th, Annie was on the streets, looking for a way to earn her keep. It was then that she likely encountered the man who would become her killer. A witness later reported seeing Annie with a man of shabby genteel appearance near 29 Hanbury Street around 5:30 a.m. At around 6 a.m., a resident of 29 Hanbury Street, John Davis, made a horrifying discovery in the backyard. Lying near the steps was the mutilated body of Annie Chapman. Her throat had been cut with such ferocity that her head was almost severed. But the horror didn't end there. The killer had subjected her to horrific abdominal mutilations, removing her uterus and parts of her bladder and vagina with a degree of surgical skill that suggested some anatomical knowledge. At her feet, the killer had arranged some of her meager possessions, including 2 farthings, a small comb, and a piece of an envelope. The murder of Annie Chapman sent a fresh wave of terror through London. The press dubbed the killer Jack the Ripper, and the name stuck. The police investigation was intense but ultimately fruitless. A local man, John Pizer, also known as Leather Apron, was arrested but later cleared. The brutality of the murder and the killer's apparent anatomical knowledge led to speculation that he could be a doctor or a butcher. Annie Chapman was buried in a simple ceremony, her grave a somber reminder of a life brutally cut short. Her murder, the second in the canonical 5 attributed to Jack the Ripper, solidified the legend of the Phantom Killer and left a permanent scar on the history of London. Over 130 years later, the murder of Annie Chapman remains a haunting and unsolved crime. Her story, and the stories of the other Ripper victims, serve as a chilling reminder of the dark side of human nature and the enduring power of a mystery that continues to fascinate and horrify us to this day. Who was Jack the Ripper? We may never know, but we can and should remember the lives he so brutally took. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the annals of true crime.